have done my bachelor in technology and biotechnology. And after that, I started working as a professor in a coaching institute where I taught chemistry to IDJ and NEET aspirants. Basically, the crowd I caters the 11th and 12th class aspirants. And I work with Byju's as content development. I resigned there as assistant director.
Same.
So recently, and now I'm working on a small startup that I have designed. It's about academics and monitoring and extracurricular, co-curricular activities. My specialization is chemistry.
Okay.
Right.
ठीक है. तो आप जब बायजूस में आपका सर्विस प्रोवाइड करते हैं तो आर यू टीचिंग देयर और
I taught.
कौन सी ऑडियंस थी आपकी?
11th 12th IIT
ठीक है,
engineering and
तो
NEET aspirants.
बेसिकली कोचिंग सेंटर की तरह.
Yes. Yes.
वालेकुम.
सैयद आली मास्टर्स किया है हमने एमकॉम में. स्पेशल सब्जेक्ट हमारा अकाउंटिंग है मास्टर्स का. और हम रिजी कॉलेज ऑफ आर्ट्स एंड कॉमर्स में एज ए एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव काम करते हैं.
अच्छा, तो टीचिंग नहीं है आपकी. ठीक है. आई थिंक एसी ऑन करने की ज़रूरत है. एसी ऑन नहीं है, सिर्फ ये नाम के लिए जो है. तो नीचे जितना गर्म है यहाँ भी उतना ही गर्म है. जी आप बताएं.
My name is Narjis Thakur from Salvi, Maharashtra, and I am a principal of Masoom Education Society, Super English Medium School. I have completed my MSc in Computer Science and BA with DSM, that is Diploma in School Management, and at present I am pursuing Master in Education.
My name is Tanzila Bhanu, wife of Rajimati. So,
Bangalore वाले.
You have already met. So I was teaching as a madrasa teacher for 2 years, and I have the experience of teaching in a school for 1 year as a mathematics teacher. So after that I did my graduation in BSc Graphic and Web Design. So currently I am working as a graphic designer.
Graphic design.
This is Sabah Rizvi from Jaffer English High School and Junior College, situated in Govaldi. I'm working as a principal there. It's a Shia school, Shia Muslim school, and students are around 2,200. I completed my MBA.
What medium would you prefer? Would you prefer me to speak in English or would you prefer me to speak in Urdu? English. English is more comfortable. Salam alaikum. Everybody's done a round of introductions, so if you can introduce yourself as well.
Myself is Muntazir Rizvi, and by profession I'm an investment banker, but I also part of mentorship and counseling program, which was run in Mumbai, and we've been part of the team.
Okay. All right. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Now that all of you have introduced yourself, let me just give my brief background. I did my master's in business administration, and my specialization is into leadership training and development and leadership development. Then I did my second master's in counseling and psychotherapy. Then I worked with Satyam Computers, I worked with HSBC Bank, I worked with Bank of America. Then I moved to Singapore, I worked with Bank of Singapore there. So overall about 10 years of experience. Then I have a certification in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I don't know if you've heard of that book.
Okay, yeah.
You've read the book? Okay. That book sold about 40 million copies around the world. One of the most famous and popular books. So I am a certified trainer for that concept. I'm a certified trainer for the concept of situational leadership, which is a Ken Blanchard company based in America. I've also done my certification in neuro-linguistic programming. So lots of certificates and a lot of masters. And over and above all that, I did my master's in Hausa as well, in theology and philosophy. So with all that, I have a lot of interest in subjects like artificial intelligence. The reason is that while I was doing my MBA, I was also part of a technology-based school or institute called NIIT. It must have been very popular at that time. NIIT. And after that, I did coding and programming for about 2 years, 3 years of time. Not at organizational level, but at personal level, small projects and all that. So, interest in IT, interest in management, interest in psychology, child upbringing. So, a variety of concepts. And then added to that is the knowledge from the Islamic background that helps us understand how does everything fit into the whole scenario. Now, the whole idea about this session is to try and understand the role and the progress of information technology, particularly artificial intelligence today, so that we need to be prepared for it, keeping in mind that the speed at which it's progressing and how it's impacting everything around us. So first and foremost question, how much have you done your research on artificial intelligence? That what's artificial intelligence about? How does it work? Have you done any research? Have you done any study on artificial intelligence? Any information on artificial intelligence? Have you done
So
any?
I think it's based on facts, and it's combination of the behavioral study as well,
Okay.
and there's a lot of collaboration in artificial intelligence,
Right.
which is still going on. It's still evolving.
There's a
What a-
machine learning algorithm that happens.
Great, excellent. So there is something called machine learning algorithm. There's something called neural networks that's happening at the back end. Any research on AI? That what is AI? How does it function? How does it work? Not much. Okay.
There's a data set, database that
Great.
exists.
And there are inputs provided. There is code, and then there's self-learning happening. There's deep learning happening. So what we'll do is we'll spend about it's time to start. So we'll spend about 10 minutes trying to understand where does artificial intelligence fit into and what's the role and the amount of progress it has done. And then we will move towards the impact of AI on education system today and how it's going to revolutionize the whole education system around the world today, right? So pay attention to the picture here. The picture is very important. If you look at this picture, apparently it looks pretty nice and simple and well designed, that there is a human hand touching a technological robotic hand, and it looks nice, but there's a hidden meaning to it, and that's why we need to understand the impact of and the perception and the underlying thought behind this whole concept of artificial intelligence. Now, if we look at, I'm going to skip this, but if we look at this picture, how many of you know about this picture? And how many of you know that what does this picture depict?
Evolution of man.
No.
Something from Roman era.
Absolutely from Roman era, but something to do with religion. It has something to do with religion rather than evolution, because evolution is more of anti-religion, and this is more to do with evolution. This is painted by, if I'm not wrong, by Michelangelo, and this is one of the most popular and famous pictures, and this is painted on the ceiling, right? And what does this picture show? This picture shows that there is a hand touching another hand. The old person that you see on your
Is very active.
on this side, right? So that is God, and there are angels around him, and the person on your right that you see here is Adam, and God is basically giving life by that touch, right? So this image depicts creation and also depicts that the one who is giving life has authority on the entity who's absorbing life or taking life. So if we go back to this picture, you will see that there is connection happening, and human beings are granting life to AI, and therefore we are gods, we are creators, and that's the kind of underlying thought behind this whole concept of creating artificial intelligence, that God created us and God created everything else. Now the fundamental question is, what differentiates us from everything else is the fact that we bear intelligence compared to everything that exists around us. So we are creating something that is going to bear intelligence. Therefore, now we are competing at the level of God. God created everything, but you have the verse in the Holy Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Tabarakallahu ta'ala. When does he say that? When he says that I first created muzgha, then it turned into muzgha, and then the bones and the skin and the flesh, and then finally a new creation. And that's where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Tabarakallahu ta'ala, I congratulate that I have created a new entity, a new being, that is human being, which bears intelligence. And this is where the man is saying that no, God is not the only entity that has created intelligence. We can create intelligence. Now the question is, how do we differentiate between intelligence and non-intelligent beings? So some people said, if you have the capacity to make decisions, then you are an intelligent being. Because as human beings, we decide, we evaluate, we check, we say, okay, this and this. Let me compare, let me see which one is better, which one is good, and then I pick and choose from the better ones. Now there's a contradiction to it. There's a rebuttal to it. People came in and said, look, if you say this, then even a cow has intelligence. If I serve decayed grass and fresh grass, it picks fresh grass. Therefore, it has a certain level of intelligence. So then the philosophers came in and said, no, the intelligence that the man bears is to differentiate between haq and batil. That's point number one. Point number two, they have the ability to learn. Learn from the raw concepts, learn from the raw data, learn from their experiences, learn from the environment. And the second part, the most important part, is that these men, as in the mankind, when they learn, they create. And that's what makes them special. Even a cow learns, even a monkey learns, even an elephant learns, even a tiger learns. If you look at the circus scenario, the trainer trains an elephant to stand on 2 feet, trains a monkey to jump from fire rings, trains a tiger or a lion to do a certain act, right? So they are learning. But there is a difference between their learning and the learning that happens at human level. The human beings, while they learn, they create. And that's what makes them special. And therefore, man said, okay, if that is the criteria, then I am going to create artificial intelligence, which is not only going to learn, but is also going to have the ability to create. And therefore, this picture that we saw basically indicates the aspect of creation. And then this is a quick evolution of artificial intelligence. Let me quickly, without getting into too much detail, give you a brief understanding here. If you look at artificial intelligence, before artificial intelligence, we had systems, computers, processing units. If you remember, earlier computers were called central processing units, CPUs, right? So why did we call them CPUs? Because their job was to process data, the input we provide, and based on that data, they would provide output to us. So we would tell them, here's an input, and here is how you process it, and therefore give me the output. So simple example is your calculator. You enter your numbers, you tell them what processing they have to do, multiplication, addition, division, square root, to the power of, or whatever, and then it gives you the output. So these were machines that were processing data, but they were dumb machines. They were not smart, intelligent machines. Now, let me give you an example of intelligent machine. An intelligent machine was where we provided data to the machine, and then we gave some inputs to the machine, and we said, based on the existing data that you have, use these inputs and give me an output. So what did the machine do? It took in the input, it applied the existing data it had, and then gave us an output. And this is where you heard the terms like supercomputers. And what did these computers do? They started predicting information. So a lot of data for about 1 year, 2 years of data was fed to the computer. And then I feed in today's data to it and say, tell me, will it rain tomorrow? So based on the existing information, based on the day-to-day process, based on the day-to-day climatic changes, the computer had all this information and then picked today's inputs from the satellites, from every global positioned satellite that gives the picture, and based on that information, and by accessing the already existing information, intelligently processes the information and comes back and tells me that no, tomorrow is going to be a nice sunny day. And that's why today in news we see the reporters talking about tomorrow's weather. because that is based on intelligent processing, not just dumb processing. So there's intelligent processing happening. But there is another question, a very important question, that can I get a computer to learn? Can I get a computer to learn and develop itself? And this is where this whole concept and question of artificial intelligence came in. That the computers, the systems, the engineers decided to tell the computer that you need to learn. Because there is so much data, this information explosion, there's internet, and there's trillions and trillions of terabytes of data. And I can't take all that data and keep feeding it to you. So what am I going to do? I'm going to connect you to internet. You send your bots, you go around, look for suitable data, collect that data, learn from that data, and based on that data, you provide me with suitable solutions based on my problems or my scenarios. This is called artificial intelligence. And then there is something called deep learning, which we will see later on, because it's a slightly more complex thing. So we covered this. I'm just rushing through a little faster from these points because we are supposed to focus on education part of it. So keeping that in mind, we are going to skim through a little faster. One of the primary challenges that the scientists today have dealing with artificial intelligence is that, can I get artificial intelligence to emotionally react to scenarios around it? So if I tell artificial intelligence that my dog died, is it going to be compassionate? Is it going to condole and console me? Or is it going to be a robotic feedback saying that, I'm sorry to hear so that your dog died? Is there anything I can do for you? That is a fundamental question, point number one. Point number two, can I get them to react in a way that actually they cry, they get scared? That's question number two. Question number three, will the artificial intelligence understand sarcasm? See, what at a given point of time, I issue a statement and I say, oh, so you think you're smart, right? Or you're acting smart. Now there is sarcasm hidden in it, but artificial intelligence takes the content on the face value. It only processes the statement based on the face value. And this is a challenge. They're still working on it. They've got closer to it, but they've not attained perfection in it, right? And it's a challenge that they are still working on. So these are a couple of things that artificial intelligence is still struggling with. However, they thought that by providing intense code, by providing intense code and by providing necessary, is it there? Okay. Okay. By providing intense code and millions of lines of code, they can get the computer to behave in a particular way and intelligently. However, the most they could do was come up with these inventions. You must have heard of Asimo, the first robot from Japan who was able to walk, play football. And then there are these advanced technology which is used for underwater research. Mars rovers, you must have heard of those rovers sent to Mars. They're based on all this artificial intelligence whose job is to analyze the data around them and based on the inputs take decisions and be able to act and react immediately. Because there's no one who's going to be sitting there 24 hours a day monitoring and guiding this Mars rover to go from one place to another place. So artificial intelligence is progressing at a super fast speed. I'm sure some of you, okay, we're moving into the actual part now. I'm sure some of you must have seen how the world has changed in last 30 years, 30 to 40 years. Me as a child, I remember the only mode of transport used to be bicycle. And then, most of you are from India, all of you are from India, right?
Yes.
So then came Luna, right? Then came scooter, Chetak. And then came first Hero Honda bike. And people were like, oh my God, there's Hero Honda, right? And then slowly, now you have smart, intelligent cars which can drive themselves, right? So you have EVs and all this. Okay. Look at communication. Earlier, there used to be no telephone, and then the telephones came in, which did not have a dial pad in it or a number. No, no, not even that. Earlier, there used to be a black box that you had to cycle it and then connect to the operator and tell him that connect me to so and so person in so and so city, because all over India there were not more than 1,000 or 2,000 telephone connections. And then came the dial pad, then came the pagers, then came the wireless phones in the house, the pagers, and then the mobile phone, that to the dumb mobile phones which could only receive SMS and calls. And today our mobile phones can do everything for us, right from getting data to processing to coding to programming to video editing to audio editing. So in just these 30 to 40 years of life, we've seen technology grow, and it's growing at a super fast speed compared to last 1000 years. The kind of progress that man has made in last 1000 years is far less than what the man has achieved in last 30 to 35 years. And with this speed, if this continues, the man is going to get to amazing outcomes in very near future. Now, the most important question, that how does it impact our education system? To understand that, we need to understand that for AI, now they have started providing input not just based on codes, but they have asked the computers to learn. So what have they done? They gave a game to the computer and they said, look, here's a game and this is how you lose. They're not telling the computer how to win, but they're telling the computer that this is how you lose. Now try and learn not to lose. So now this computer plays this game hundreds and hundreds of times and develops its own strategy, how to win the game. So it's basically teaching itself, and it's learning how to be a successful pro gamer. Now this might sound pretty simple, like what's the big deal? This is okay. I don't think this is such a great achievement. Now there is an achievement to it, and we will look at it here. There's a game called Go. You might see that AlphaGo written here. There's a game called Go. It's a Chinese game, and it's the most complex game in the whole world. More complex than chess. And this game is there from the ancient times of China. The kings used to play with each other to understand their ruling strategies, to understand their war strategies. That when I play Go with him, I am understanding the deeper rooted thought process of the king. And that's why the game was developed. Now this game is so complex that there are only few people who can master it. Now if you see this Lee Sedol sitting on the left, on the right here. Lee Sedol sitting on your right, and he's the 7 times world champion. Now, skipping all the story, there's a whole documentary about this. It's called AlphaGo, documentary available on YouTube. You can go and watch that documentary. Google DeepMind developed this software called AlphaGo. And AlphaGo challenged Lee Sedol for this competition. And Lee Sedol said, I'm 7 times world champion. AlphaGo is not going to survive. I'm going to defeat it. And it's the best of 5 kind of a scenario. And unfortunately, Lee Sedol lost to AlphaGo. And that's a huge question, that how can artificial intelligence, which was created by man, win against a man who's super intelligent and he's a 7 times world champion? How did he win? During the play, Google DeepMind, that is AlphaGo, played a move. There's a move called, I haven't mentioned yet, it was some number called C7. He made a move in the gamepad. And the whole world laughed at AlphaGo. Said that's the most stupid and the useless move that has ever been made in the history of Go. In the history of game Go, no one has ever played this move. This is the most stupid move to make. However, AlphaGo won the game because of that C7 move. That means that AlphaGo was not taught to make such a move, but it analyzed the data and invented the move. So now we need to understand that artificial intelligence is not just learning information and summarizing and giving it to you. A lot of people have this understanding that, okay, there's all this information available, so what does artificial intelligence do? doing its reading through all these 30 books, 40 books, 50 books, and it is just consolidating the information and giving it to me. No, that's not what artificial intelligence is doing. Artificial intelligence is inventing data, inventing moves, inventing content. And that's why, when I skipped all this information, that's why such things made big news that published the first article written by artificial intelligence. That means artificial intelligence creatively thought and wrote an article. Not just that, it started drawing, and it started calling itself that if you are to dream, what would you dream? And this is what I'm dreaming. And this is the art that is designed by artificial intelligence, and it had its own problems. If you look at this art structure, art image here, you will see that none of the faces are clear. If you're sitting that far, you can see that this looks like art, but can you spot all the places where there is a face and that face is clearly well designed? No. So there is a flaw, but artificial intelligence is improving, and therefore this is where it is now being able to draw. But now artificial intelligence has moved much, much, much far ahead, and it is able to design perfect pictures, perfect art, perfect faces. Today, the world is using artificial intelligence to write computer codes. It just tells the artificial intelligence, can you write this code for me? And they write the code. Can you find the error in it? I find the error in it. Can you fix the error for me? Here's how I fix the error. Can you show me stepwise method how to do ABCD? So writing code, generating images. If you look at softwares like DALL-E, DALL-E, you go to DALL-E. You go to Discord, software Midjourney Discord. You go there and you tell the software that I want an image which has a style, Picasso style, and I want, let's say, a panda sitting in the forest and drawing pictures of human beings, and it will generate that image and give it to you. So artificial intelligence has moved so far ahead that now it is not just processing information, but it is generating information.
Recently, there was a competition that was won by
Artificial intelligence.
Won by,
Correct. And this is happening at all levels. And in medicine, in war, in designing, in coding, and everywhere. So we'll come back to that. But let's look at the education sector. Let me give you this example as well. Artificial intelligence was asked that if we want to make weapons of mass destruction, can you suggest what the weapons of mass destruction would be like, or what can we come up with? And they said that in less than 10 hours, it came up with 7,000 different weapons of mass destruction that can be used to destroy a complete country, right? So there is a scary part where we need to get worried. Now, let's look at the education part of it. Around the world, people first hesitated, were against it because they felt that we're losing our jobs. Tomorrow, if we have artificial intelligence providing solutions to our children, then what's the need of a teacher? What's the need of a professor? They're going to do everything. And then the fundamental question comes in that is it really possible that artificial intelligence, particularly you might have heard of these softwares called ChatGPT and AutoGPT and other things. So can they actually act like a teacher? Yes, absolutely. My cousin, based here in Qom, he gave a command to ChatGPT and said, I want to teach C++ to my 8-year-old child in 5 sessions. Can you design these 5 sessions for me? And ChatGPT came back with each session saying that session 1, introduce these concepts. Help him write this code. Get him to exercise and practice this code. So he not only gave the content for the lesson, but also the exercises. Session 2, session 3, session 4, session 5. Complete curriculum for teaching an 8-year-old child how to learn C++ coding. So ChatGPT is now enhanced and is being enhanced every now and then. Started from version 2 to 3, 3.5, and now we have version 4, which is extremely advanced and connected with internet with updated information and data. And therefore, earlier, the professors, the universities, they were against ChatGPT and use of artificial intelligence. They said, we are not going to accept essays from students if they are using ChatGPT. We're not going to accept essays from students if they're using artificial intelligence, language learning modules, so on and so forth. But today, the things have changed. The university heads are calling in the professors and teachers and telling them that start learning how to use ChatGPT. The companies are calling in the employees and managers and telling them that learn how to use ChatGPT. Why? Because ChatGPT is so efficient that it is doing months of work in weeks. So instead of spending 6 months on doing that work, it can be done within 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 4.5 weeks. So better start learning. And there was a news just about 3 weeks ago where the CEO of the company called in all the managers and said, learn how to use ChatGPT or you will be fired. Earlier they were scared that we were going to lose the job, but today they're saying without ChatGPT you will lose your job. So better start learning it. And this is what is going to be the education system like in next 2 years. That the professors and the teachers will be asked to use ChatGPT. They will be asked to learn how to use it. Use it in developing your curriculum, in trying to understand the psychology of your children for different ages. You're teaching a primary school, you're teaching secondary school, you're teaching high school, you're teaching college children. Everybody has a different learning curve, and based on their learning curve and learning style, develop your content. So this is where the teachers need to become aware that the content is going to be easily generated by ChatGPT. So now we're facing a fundamental question, that what will happen to our jobs? Why would anybody actually need us? If everything is coming from ChatGPT, the student himself can easily go to ChatGPT and learn from there, and he doesn't need me. And you would actually find students coming to the class and telling you that, teacher, you're telling this, but ChatGPT is telling something else. And then you will be like, so what? That's ChatGPT. And they have declared that ChatGPT might provide incorrect and inappropriate answers. So you don't have to go by that. But the point is, the children will not accept your point of view. They'll say, no, ChatGPT provides 90 to 95% correct information, and therefore we will go by that rather than going with your teaching and learning, because it is more efficient and more proficient in providing suitable answers. Now, this is where we need to understand that we need to tie in with these softwares and start learning from them. That's point number one, an essential and most important point. And the next important point on which you can capitalize is the fact, and this is something that everybody should focus on, that the job of a teacher is not just to inculcate knowledge. That is one aspect of teaching. The other aspect of teaching, what we call in Islam, is tarbiyat, the upbringing, the education, the values, the ethics, the connection. The child, the school student, the college going student can never build a relationship with ChatGPT. But he can build an attachment and relationship with you. He can look at you as a guide for dunya and for all his problems in life. Now this is where the teacher plays the important role in building those ethics, building those values, making that connection. And even in Hausa system, you will see that the teachers in the earlier era, they used to have that connection with the students. The students used to treat the teachers of Hausa like their parents, like their father. So if the teacher is sick, all the students would go to the house of the teacher, take him to the doctor, bring medicine for him, clean the house, sweep the house, cook food for them. Right? So that kind of a connection. I'm not saying that our current college going students are going to come to our house and cook food for us. No, they're going to just order it from Zomato and they're going to get it delivered from Swiggy at your house. But the point is to build that relationship. Our challenge as teachers, and I've been through that phase, is that teachers do not try to build that relationship and connection with the students. We feel that my job is to teach. I have 1 hour every day and I have to finish this subject, I have to finish this content, I have to finish these number of pages, and therefore I come to class, I teach, And if someone troubles me and asks me complex questions due to which I feel that I'm going to be, lagging behind and I won't be able to reach the number of chapters or subjects, I will belittle the person, insult the person, humiliate the person, or just shut him down and say, "Bakwas sawal mat karo, chupchap baith jao." And eventually he says, "Okay, fine. If my teacher can't answer it, I'll go to ChatGPT." And then they will get addicted to ChatGPT. And now, because you're not even building a relationship, you're losing the value, you're losing your position as a teacher, you're losing your position as a knowledgeable person. Why? Because ChatGPT is providing the knowledge. So, what role do I play now as a teacher? My role is going to be to build that connection, to build that ethics. And this is something that we need to be worried about. Why do I say we need to be worried about is because if you look at the world today, tell me how many youngsters in your classes are actually talking about becoming engineers, doctors, nanotech engineers, astronauts, or even teachers? No one. What do they want to do?
No one wants to become a teacher.
No one wants to become a teacher. Point number one. Point number two, what do they want to do?
Like now they are more into
More
like
into
social
father's
media,
business is there,
TikTok.
they want to get into the business of
So father's business is there. That is one. TikToker.
Now
YouTubers.
they think that
YouTuber.
influencers, like all these platforms like YouTube and adding on reels and all, they're going to make
So-
more money and shortcuts.
Yeah,
Exactly.
even uneducated people so much.
Exactly. So this is something that you need to be worried about. Why? And this is not just for yourself, this is for your own generation, even for your own children. The current generation is saying that, okay, here's my fundamental question. Dear teacher, here's my fundamental question. Why do I need to study? Why do I need to get good marks in 10th class? Why?
To get good admission for higher studies.
Exactly. You need to get good numbers in your 10th standard so that you can get into a good college. Why do I need to get into good college?
For good education, then money, good job.
So that I can get a good job. Why do I need to get a good job?
Good payment, good salary.
So that I can get good salary, I can get good pay package. And why do I need to get good pay package?
Live luxury life.
To live a comfortable, luxurious life without mental pressure, so that when I retire, I have some money. I can get that from YouTube.
Yeah.
I am getting more than a salaried person. I'm making 1 lakh per month compared to a software engineer who's working for Bill Gates, who's working for Tesla, who's working for Microsoft, and he's getting a package of 10 lakhs per annum, and he has to pay taxes, and there are so many deductions and blah blah blah, and he has to break his head trying to code and program and understanding the algorithms, meeting calls with the client. They call them at 2 in the night shift, and they say talk to the client, understand the problem, and from there the client is building the pressure. The manager shouts at you, abuses you. And then this performance evaluation, and there's always this threat that if you're not performing, you'll be fired. So why all that pressure? Why all that heck of trouble to go through? I can go to TikTok, I can go to YouTube, and I can make money. Question: do I need to have a master's degree to go to YouTube?
No.
Do I need a bachelor's degree to go to YouTube? Do I need to at least qualify 10th standard? No. I can be a 5th class failed person. But if I know how to run a YouTube channel successfully, I make more money than a guy who is a vice president in an organization.
Exactly.
Do you have any idea how much money people are making from YouTube? The number one guy on YouTube is Mr. Beast. How much money does he make? He makes $4 million per month. $4 million per month. How much does he spend in making videos?
Nothing.
2.5 to $3 million in making videos. And there are others who don't spend that much, but that's okay. There's this guy, Tech Guruji, if I'm not wrong, right? He came to one of the talk shows and he had a phone in his hand. Said, how much is that phone? It looks pretty fancy. some Maheshwari guy was interviewing him.
Sandeep
Sandeep
Maheshwari.
Maheshwari or something. So he said, how much is that phone? He said, oh, this is a very unique phone. It has a unique design at the back, and in the glass, frame, there's a rock from this moon, Mars or moon, something like that. And the phone costs 68 lakh rupees. He's carrying a phone that is worth 68 lakh rupees. How many people, after completing their education, earn 68 lakh rupees per year? And he's carrying that phone in his hand for being a YouTuber. He has a Rolls Royce. He drives a Rolls Royce. Motivational speakers, right? So the point is that youth today don't want to get into any of these professions. Why do I become a doctor? Why should I? They'll call me in the middle of the night, Dr. Saab, emergency, come! And I have to wake up and run to the hospital 2 p.m. and I'll feel guilty if I don't save the life. So why should I go through all that pressure? So, no need. Let me get to TikTok, let me get to YouTube, let me get to Facebook, let me become a blogger, let me make millions of rupees. I don't care about education. Question, what will happen to next generation? Illiteracy will expand.
The worst situation. And human values will be like...
Human values will decline. People will only look at becoming famous, popular singers and dancers. Look at all the shows that are being run on the TV where children, 5-year-old kid, 7-year-old kid wants to be a dancer and a singer and make money. So the education system is under threat based on the current way the world is progressing. So now fundamental question again. So 20 years down the line, 10 years down the line, all our youth are into YouTubes and TikToks, and there are few guys who are into, programming and software so that they have to run the platform, and they'll be, controlling the platforms, and others will be making reels and making money. So who are going to be the professors?
So who are coding and professors, nobody.
No one.
No one's going to be good teachers. No one's going to be good professors. No one's going to give that necessary knowledge to the next generation or the generation after that. The next generation is called Gen Z. And then there's the next generation which is called Generation Alpha, the generation which was born during the time of Corona, who are 2 years, 3 years old now. They're called Generation Alpha. For Generation Alpha, we will not have any teachers. So who's going to save them? Who's going to provide education to them? Excellent. Parents are going to turn to ChatGPT. They're going to say that, okay, no teachers, no good professors, no good schooling system, degree not required to make money, but I can't let my child be stupid. He needs to know information. He needs not just make YouTube videos, but he needs to become smart and aware. So all these influencers, you would see a lot of influencers on YouTube and TikTok, the kind of ideology and thoughts that they are promoting among the youth, are they backed by some research? No. Everything is personal opinion. I think this is good. Someone else says, no, I think this is good. Third person comes and both of them are stupid. I think this is good. And the youth are like, okay, fine, who cares? And eventually, our next generation and the generation after them will start moving towards becoming dumb. And these softwares are going to be the rescuers. They're going to come up, and parents are going to, work with ChatGPTs, or who are going to be the parents after next generation? The same influencers, the same TikTokers. They're going to tell the kids, go to ChatGPT and learn for yourself. And ChatGPT is going to give them the whole curriculum. Because they are lazy people. I don't know if you've seen news. Parents so busy playing online games that they forget to feed their baby, 8-month-old baby, and the baby dies. 3 days they just kept playing online game, and the baby died out of hunger. And that's the kind of craze that's happening. So now, point is, so ChatGPT will come up and say, I am your savior. I am your rescuer. Imagine the kind of value artificial intelligence will hold tomorrow. The kind of respect people will have for artificial intelligence. More than that, sorry.
It's going to be a virtual parent.
It is going to be virtual parent, and the authenticity, even if ChatGPT is going to promote incorrect values, they're going to say they are right.
Yeah, that's right.
So ChatGPT is going to say there is no God. Like, absolutely true. That is how it is. That is how it should be. If there was God, look at our parents. Look at the society. Why is God not doing anything? And that's why we as teachers need to build our value not just from the educational point of view, but from the ethical point of view. We need to inculcate that in our children, inculcate that into our kids, so that when they are growing up, they should know that, look, there is something called society, and there's something called service to the society. And I am being educated so that I can provide some value and contribute to the development of the society. And that's my essential role. My essential role is not to make money, lead a good life, and retire peacefully. No, that's not the goal. That's not the goal Islam promotes. Islam does not say that, be money oriented. Islam says you can get as much money as you want based on your skills. But there's something called zuhd. There's something called taqwa. There's something called qana'at. Qana'at means being content with what you already have and be open to sharing with others. Now, look at our generation, our own generation. How many of us, when walking by the road, see a beggar, take off our jacket in the winter and give it to the beggar? None of us. But a YouTuber will do. So when my child is looking at a YouTuber and he's looking at me as a parent, he says, Baba, you talk about values, you talk about ethics, this is beggar sitting on the roadside, shivering with cold, you didn't give your jacket, but Mr. X on YouTube, every time he spots a beggar, he gives away his $1,000 jacket. So I think he is more ethical. He is more value-based. He is more inspiring. He is more ideal. He is more principled man. You talk about values, but you don't practice. He doesn't talk about it, but he practices. So there's a huge threat that is coming our way, and that threat is a contradiction in the minds of the youth. That while you teach the values, they're constantly going to question, are you practicing those values? You're teaching those values, but are you practicing them? They're not teaching those values, but they are practicing them. So the ones who are practicing are better than those who are just teaching it and not practicing it. Therefore, our role as a teacher has taken a different form today. Our role is not about establishing ourselves as intelligent and smart professor in the class and trying to show off that I know you don't know. But our role has changed into being that I know and I'm willing to teach and make you a better person. Not just a knowledgeable person who does not have emotions, who does not have compassion, who does not have that love for humanity. No, my goal is to make you a better person. Why? So that the values that I inculcate in you continue to your next generation. If you see what has happened over a period of time is, look at ourselves. Our parents, they followed religion in a particular way. The way we are following the religion, and look at the way our children are following the religion. It is degrading generation by generation. Today the youth sit into a majlis and they are playing video games. So they're not listening to anything. So there is no inculcation of values and principles and ethics and morality and religion in them. So where is it going to come from? From schools, particularly where you have some control and authority like Shia school, Muslim school, where you can promote these concepts and address these points and bring that value and address these needs of the youth and solve that contradiction in their mind. That look, there's something called reality, and the reality is not what you see and what you gain as knowledge. Islam always comes and talks about ilm as, if you look at the verses of the Holy Quran, it says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu wa amilus salihat. It doesn't say just ilm, it says ilm
And amal.
and amal. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu. When do you have faith? When you have knowledge about something. So there is marifat, and then with the help of marifat there is ilm, and with the help of ilm you are at iman. Iman has to be followed by amal. So our job is to bring in that role of building that connection and making sure that they come to us to solve their life problems rather than go to Google or ChatGPT. If you're not able to do that, remember our children and the generation that we are teaching is going to be handed over to the artificial intelligence on a silver platter, and they are going to do the tarbiyah. I'll give you a good example here. One of my classmates, he's a Khoja, so he was doing research on Khoja content. He was like, ChatGPT, can you tell me? I'm not going to drink tea, so if someone is missing tea, they can take it. I asked him to get water for me. I'm going to be taking water. So he said, dear ChatGPT, tell me how many books on Khoja history are available so that I want to look at it and summarize. He's getting water for me. He's getting cold water for me. So that's fine. So he said there are 6 books. I said, amazing, because he did his research and he knew there are only 5 books. He said, can you name the 6 books? So he listed down all the 6 books. So he said, ChatGPT, the 6th book, can you tell me where was it published and who published it and who's the author of the book? So it gave the name of the publisher, it gave the year of publication, it gave the name of the author. Then he said, can you summarize this book in 20 points for me? So he wrote the summary in 20 points. He said, okay, thank you. Then he went and searched on the publication site that does such a book exist. And to his surprise, this book did not exist, nor the author exists. So he came back to ChatGPT and said, look, you told me that this publication has this book, but I searched through their publication and this book does not exist. So can you tell me where are you getting your information from? What is your source? So he says, my source is that website. So he goes to that website. He says, I went through that website, I looked through all the pages, and this information does not exist there. So where is that website getting information and where are you getting information from? ChatGPT came back and said, my apologies, I was wrong. Such a book does not exist, and this publication never published this book. So now a big question. How did you write a summary of 20 points for a book that did not exist? So where did you get the summary from? Answer from ChatGPT. He says, I wrote this, I did not write the summary from that book because that book does not exist. So where did you get it from? I consolidated the 5 books and I brought in a summary from those 5 books. So here's a threat. This is something that we need to become aware of and show some samples to our students that look, ChatGPT does mistakes, so you can't take the value and information of ChatGPT on the face value and say, because ChatGPT says so, therefore it is true. And this is something that we need to become aware, particularly we the creationists who believe in creation, who believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Janab Adam and the whole progeny and everything. ChatGPT and other artificial intelligent platforms are not going to talk about creation. They're going to say, okay, yeah, creation exists. Islam promotes it, Christianity promotes it. But is it reality? There are counter arguments for that. So there's a high probability that this might not be true because evolution also exists. There's a theory about it. And tomorrow, ChatGPT is going to come around and tell exactly these things to our youth. And therefore, we as educators play a strong role in telling the people, telling our children to understand the difference and to able to evaluate the content that we get from artificial intelligence and make sure what is haq and what is batil. They won't be able to understand it from ChatGPT until and unless you ask 20 questions back to back, you won't find the difference between haq and batil. This is where you as an educator comes in and plays the vital role. When you teach them the ethics, when you teach them morality, when you teach them values, and when they get the information from ChatGPT, they would know that should they believe, should they take this value, should they take this information on its face value or not. وآخر الدعوانا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. We will keep the session open for another 10 to 15 minutes. If you have any questions, ask your questions and inshallah I'll try and answer your questions here.
The example that you quote about the Khwaja Sir, is it a real example or like?
Yeah. No, real example. I know this person who did this research on the chat GPT, and he came back and told us, look, I registered myself at chat GPT and this is what happened. And not just this, he also tried asking chat GPT to write a Quranic verse, because Quran has claimed, right, that no one can bring a verse like this. Allah has challenged. So he said, let me see if chat GPT can do it. So chat GPT came back with a Quranic verse. So he said, okay, you know what? This verse that you've brought back to me is basically copy paste from 6 different verses. You took 2 words from here, 3 words from here. He says, yes, that's what I can do. I can't come up with a verse myself, but what exists from that I consolidated and came up with a creation, and that is this. So these are real life examples. People are actually trying to test ChatGPT and see that to what extent can ChatGPT influence.
Even I had tested.
Okay.
I asked the chat GPT to like create a cow with a peacock. So it has like made the cow and the peacock, but the cow has the reflection of peacock's neck.
Okay.
So then I understood. So the chat GPT is not itself creating the things, but
it's picking
like
from other places, consolidating.
Yeah,
Right. So your
So
question.
that's what they claim. Na? The basis of this chat GPT is based on, I think, 3 or 6 billion
Data points.
facts,
Yeah. Data
points.
points. Yeah.
It's like truly incorrect to say that it's a mistake. It's a well thought, intentional, propaganda that would be.
In a way, you can say that. All right. Questions. Anyone's got
It
any
should be
questions?
specific to this.
To artificial intelligence, and if you have questions other than our session, that we can deal at a different time. But let's keep the session open for this discussion on artificial intelligence and see if there are questions that can be answered.
Like, if there's some work going on, like we can use AI to enrich our kids with the religious knowledge.
AI is a double-edged sword. You can use it for good and you can use it for bad. I know Ali Medin, a scholar, who asked ChatGPT. ChatGPT understands multiple languages, so you can give it inputs in Urdu, you can give it inputs in Farsi and Arabic. So he gave an input to it in Farsi and he said, can you write Masaib of Janabi Abbas alayhi salam, which are totally emotional? And ChatGPT came back with Masaib. It wrote Masaib for my friend, for Janabi Abbas, which are totally emotional. He said it did a very good job. Not that it was really bad. No, pretty good job. I just had to tweak and improve and eliminate the unauthentic information and add authentic information. So it depends on us that how I use ChatGPT and how much information can I derive out of it. For example, I tried this personally. I told ChatGPT, can you write a story for me for an 8-year-old, based on an 8-year-old girl, inculcating the Islamic Irfani aspect to it. So it wrote a 2-page story for me, talking about that how an 8-year-old girl comes across an Arif and how this Arif introduces the Islamic Irfani concepts to her. It was a nice story. So it all depends on us how I wish to use and utilize artificial intelligence for whatever purpose. It could be for management, it could be for primary school drawings and lesson plans, or it could be for educational purpose, it could be for maths, chemistry, whatever subject, including religion. Including planning as well. You can ask them that how do I plan my curriculum where I have to teach this concept to these students for 16 sessions. So it's going to plan it for you. So including religion. But the essential point is that you should be aware in religion or religious knowledge, so that when ChatGPT gives you some information, you should know what is right and what is.
One should be able to
Exactly. And that will help us understand and differentiate between haqq and batil, and that what is haqq should be handed over or delivered to our youth rather than the generic knowledge and generic information. Any other questions?
So nowadays, people, like mostly
so
children are very happy to use all these things. They are like feeling creative and very discovering the
Yes.
things, enjoying in it.
They are. And see, there's one aspect to it that though they feel creative, but here's a fundamental question: what is their creativity? The creativity is the prompt that they give to DALL-E or ChatGPT. But true creativity is not in giving the prompt, but to actually paint and draw and sketch and play. So in reality, it's not exactly. So it's not enhancing the creativity, rather it's destroying the creativity of our kids.
The children can't understand. They feel that what they are feeling in their mind, it's getting back to them.
So as a parent, as a teacher, this is where our role comes in. We should try and help them understand that, look, these tools are good, but not in a way that we use a term in Farsi and Arabic, mutlaq, overall goodness. Whatever it gives you, everything is good. No, that's not the case. These are good to use for betterment and enhancement, but that doesn't mean that everything that comes from it is good and nice and can be used. Any more questions?
What is the proper age for a child to use a smartphone?
Oh, a very good question. A proper age for a child to use screen time, not just computer, mobile phone or laptop or TV, is when they are able to differentiate and understand that this is good and this is bad, this is haq and this is batil, this is right and this is wrong. If you feel that my child is not yet ready, you do not introduce screen time to them. We don't have a TV at home. The day my daughter was born, I packed up the TV and put it away. You should be doing that. Yeah. And my children, they get mobile, they don't get to use or touch our mobile phones. They get to use it only to watch some educational clips, for example, from Khan Academy or something like that, couple of areas where we want them to learn some new concepts which the teacher was not able to teach them properly. So we give, how much time do they get? How much mobile time do they get in a week? 20 minutes. In a whole week. 20 minutes of mobile time in a whole week. And on the weekends, they get 1 hour of laptop time, not for watching anything, but for drawing graphics using the step-by-step method. So you say, how to draw a frog step by step. And they sit down, they watch, and they draw step by step. How to draw a frog, how to draw a turtle, how to draw a penguin, step-by-step drawing. Just about 1 hour in probably 15 days to watch either Alphabrox or Leapfrog. That's it. That's the screen time. So in a whole month, they barely get 3 hours of screen time or 4 hours of screen time, not more than that.
Because usually in schools we start making the students use computer from the age of 7 years.
That's okay. See, there is one part where you ask for example, I plan to introduce coding and programming for my 8-year-old daughter from this summer vacation. So I'm going to tell her how to code and program. I'm going to teach her how to, design basic software and all that stuff. So that is different. But there is something called handing over the phone to your child and giving them the freedom to do whatever they want to do. So they go through different apps, they look for games, they go through Google, they give command and search for of information at Google, and there's freedom of usage. No, never give a device to your child in an unmonitored environment. You give the device to your child and you should be always around the child. The child should know that my mother or my father is 3-5 steps away from me. They can anytime walk in and look at me and say, what are you doing? What are you watching? What are you drawing? What are you listening?
Also, it's like these days, mostly mobile phones and all these devices, they have parenting control as well. This is
Correct.
so
And that should be applied.
Exactly.
That should be applied. And there's another feature that's called, casting. Earlier there used to be Chromecast, but now it's casting. If you have a smart TV at home, give the phone to your child and let them cast it on the TV, so that everybody knows what he's doing, so that he can't do something that is inappropriate. Because whatever he does that is inappropriate, it will be seen on the TV.
Yeah, because how many parents are going to watch what they are watching in the mobile?
Exactly. A lot of times we just give it to them and then we go to kitchen trying to cook or listening to majlis or whatever, and the child is free to misuse the device. So never do that. They should always be monitored, access to the screen time. Inshallah. I hope I answered your question. Any other question?
How long will the craze of AI So like how before when we were small, so we got a computer, so that craze was there. So computer is there like a brain. It acts like a brain of a human being.
Correct.
So much importance. So how long it will be having like
Now
that
question,
craze
now
of-
question. When we were young, we knew that computers came in and they were like, computers, oh my god, they're going to be the future and the whole world is
Yeah,
going to be
yeah.
computer dependent. Did that turn out to be wrong or did that turn out to be true?
True.
True.
So are we more dependent on computers now than earlier?
This mobile phone is an example of a
Yeah.
computer.
It's a smartphone that I have. That means this is a processing unit. This is a
We are,
computer.
but at that same time, we feel like even our mind are grown to
No,
such
our
a level
mind,
that
no.
we can
Yeah, there is
explore
a,
it.
correct.
Yes.
See, there's a point here. There is some people feel that because of technology, our minds have grown. Actually, they haven't. They haven't.
Yes.
Me as a youngster, I used to go to my father's shop. He had a grocery store, and I used to
Yeah.
verbally add the numbers for 200 products that a customer would come in and buy, right from starting, 10 grams of elaichi to one bag of rice, whatever he would buy, I would write it down and I would verbally add it, total it, and tell him. And I used to remember telephone numbers.
Exactly.
How many telephone numbers do we remember now? Now, if I pose a simple question, 62 multiplied by 4, how many of us can quickly give the output? We can't. At that time, we were able to.
But now in the period of Corona, they have only given the screen in the
Exactly,
hands.
and-
So
and-
again, how we will take it back from
Just
that
the way
is
you
the
gave it
biggest-
to them. Slowly cut down the time. If you
Yeah.
gave them 2 hours earlier, now you have to make it 1 hour
No,
45
because
minutes.
as an educationalist, because parents what they are illiterate and they not look towards it.
In all scenarios, see, if, for example, if a child is sick and they have acute pain, and then we've been told to give them morphine, and after giving them morphine for 1 month, they might get addicted to it. But that doesn't mean you're going to let them use morphine for the rest of their life. You're going to cut it down and you're going to say, this is harmful and therefore I need to take away this from you. Now, sometimes we have a nice, pleasant approach, and sometimes when it reaches a point of danger, you forcefully take it away. Right? Computer and screen time is just like that. If you see your child is getting addicted, then you have to apply the methods to take the screen time or reduce the screen time from them. And that is only when you will be successfully be able to protect your child.
Like, is it possible to create IAI, an Islamic AI?
It is possible to create Islamic AI, and if you can see the screen, when I made this presentation, is it playing? No, it's not. When I made the presentation 2 years ago in our Hauza, the Amirul Momineen Seminary School here, under Jamatul Mustafa, my last slide addressed this point. And I said, look, this is a huge threat to our Hauza system, because they are already feeding all the books of Ahadith and Quran and the method of deriving fatwa, so that tomorrow people, instead of coming to office of Ayatollah Sistani, Ayatollah Makarim Shirazi, Ayatollah Khamenei, they would just quickly go to Google and say, okay, I did not pay my homes for last 5 years, how do I calculate my homes and pay for it? Google is going to give them the answer, including the fatwa. And initially it's going to say, according to Ayatollah Sistani, this is what you do. According to Ayatollah Khamenei, this is what you should do. But 2, 3, 4 years later, ChatGPT himself is going to give a fatwa that according to me, this is what you should do.
Yeah.
And then people will say, yeah, he is smart. He has more access to, he has access to more resources, more books, more knowledge, more processing power than our scholars. Sometimes they do mistake. When bitcoins came in, a lot of Maharaja said haram, and then later on they said, no, no, not haram.
And not to you, but to all of us.
Others.
Yesterday I used a term which I won't use now, if you can connect. I said, I apologize.
Yeah.
I said, Ayatollah ChatGPT.
Yeah. People, no, in Hausa itself, some of the scholars, some of the teachers, some of our teachers already use this term Ayatollah Google. They say go to Google.
Yes,
I
we
love
have
Google,
heard,
right?
we have discussed.
And this is what is going to happen until and unless necessary steps.
Proper PDF of the same topic and then you are not organization and then you will open the.
So until and unless proper steps and measures are taken from the Hausa system, it is going to be a huge threat for Hausa. So here we have to build in that aspect and make it clear to the people that look, a lot of fatwas are based on the science of jurisprudence, that is usul al-fiqh, ilm rijal and all those Arabic grammar and other things, but there's something that is essential to religion, and that is spirituality. The taqwa, the zuhud, the marifat, the irfan, the shuhudi connection that you have with the imam of the time, that plays a critical role in making religion an important aspect of human life. And ChatGPT cannot give you that. Only a scholar, only an alim, only a marja taqleed can do that, because they have worked on their nafs, they have controlled their nafs, and therefore the guidance that you get from them has that spiritual connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is what we need to look at, rather than taking the fatwa on the face value from ChatGPTs or Googles or in other places. But a lot of people, a lot of youngsters who are into technology will not even understand this part, and they say, what spirituality are you talking about? What Zohar are you talking about? We haven't experienced it, therefore it doesn't exist. However, this is going to be a challenge, and it has to be addressed and resolved.
Being an educationist, we usually learn about the planning, implementation, and understanding of the children. How far it is good for us to learn artificial intelligence?
It has become a necessity. Like I said, there are colleges and schools that are saying that if you don't use it, we are going to fire you. You're no longer required. You're not capable to be a good teacher. So this is what it is going to be tomorrow. That if you're not able to do it, if you're not able to achieve it, if you're not in line with the contemporary world, you're outdated. Remember, this example will set well with you all. Remember when ICICI Bank, State Bank and HDFC Bank, HDFC did not exist. Indian National Bank, Bank of Baroda. When we used to go to bank, they used to write in these huge registers. Everything used to be manual entry, right? And then came the computers. And the older generation was asked to learn computers. And it was a huge task for them. And eventually, all of them were either promoted, made a manager or whatever, or they were fired. And the new generation came in. And now, if you go to any bank, you will always find new generation sitting there. Why? Because all the processing is being done by the computer. This guy is just entering data in the right places. Earlier, the old person, the experienced person used to process the information. He used to enter, okay, debit, credit, this much balance, this much fixed deposit, this much interest came in, this much tax deducted, and he used to maintain the whole record. So all the processing used to happen here. But now everything is happening in computer, and that's why they are eliminated. If we as educationists does not upgrade ourselves, just like they were eliminated, we all will be eliminated.
Not only in banks and all, but during this Corona period, COVID period, it also happened like teachers were forced to learn these
Exactly,
methods of teaching, and they were
exactly.
forced to learn. Yes, and in some of the schools, it was like they were bullied also. The ones who were old and they could
Correct.
not understand the methods, all these methods of
Correct.
virtual teaching, what we say. So not only banks, here also it's happening. So post-COVID, it was like they were employing such people who already had great experience in this particular field.
Fields.
Yes, exactly. Like.
Great. Alright, so let's end the session with Dua Faraj of Imam Zawanat Sallallahu Ta'ala Farajul Sharif and call it a day, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma kulli waliyika al-hujjat ibn al-Hasan salawatuka alayhi wa ala abaihi fi hazihi as-sa'a wa fi kulli sa'a waliyan wa hafizan وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم